Hello, Slush. Nice to meet you. My name is Crijn Bouman, CEO and co-founder of Rocsys, and we build autonomous infrastructure for autonomous vehicles. I can tell you how we got there. So I'm a repeat founder. I founded a company called Appion, and we made fast chargers for electric cars back in the day. That company became a success when electric cars started to scale. And was acquired by ABB, where I stuck around for a couple of years. And in my last year there, I had a very interesting experience. We had a customer, and they did not want to tell us what they were doing with our charging equipment, which is very odd, because normally we'd know what a customer would do with the charging equipment. So I wanted to visit them, and I had to go to San Francisco for another customer, and I decided to book an extra day and see if I could visit. And they luckily were happy to have me, and I came to this place. So this is the actual picture I took when I arrived. I arrived at the warehouse with no logo, nothing. There was no sign of which company was inside the warehouse, and this is just a facade. Behind it was like an enormous white box. And inside the box, I saw something which I'd never seen before. There was a test track for autonomous vehicles. Vehicles were driving circles inside the building, robotaxis. And they were, this company basically, they did not have a permit to put robotaxis on the road yet. So they built this indoor test track. And at the end of the shift, the vehicle would basically do a couple of laps, perform all kinds of tests. And at the end of the shift, they would park it in a corner and somebody would walk over to charge the vehicle, which looks something like this. I couldn't take a picture there, it was not allowed, of course, but I found this picture on the internet. It was quite representative of what I saw there. And this really blew my mind. It was the first time I saw an autonomous vehicle. So I started to think about like the potential for society to transition to autonomous vehicles. And also I had the realization that, you know what, if you take the driver out of the vehicle, actually all infrastructure in the built world is incompatible with the vehicle. Because for all things supporting vehicles, the driver is the main interface. So charging, of course, somebody would plug in, going into a car wash, going into a parking garage. The whole world is built from the assumption that there's a driver in the vehicle. So if you take out the driver, you are not compatible. And if you want to scale autonomous mobility to public roads, you need to solve this gap. And that's where Rocsys comes in. That's the reason we created the company. So we are building autonomous infrastructure for autonomous vehicles because autonomous vehicles must succeed. It's a technology which will be super beneficial to the world, solve the major inefficiencies in transportation, and I think the best example is the passenger car, right? So it's the most expensive product a person buys in their lifetime. There's a lot of energy and raw material going into building a car, and when it's ready, we use it 5% of the time, 5% or less. And the 5% we are using it, we are actually stuck in traffic. So the inefficiency is just staggering. We need to solve this, and autonomous mobility can do that if we tackle the infrastructure equation. So we started to build our company a few years back from this assumption, and we started to focus on where autonomous mobility already makes sense. And we started to focus on professional applications like port terminals, behind the fence, logistics, warehousing. And we started to deliver on the promise of making sure that the infrastructure serves the vehicles with no driver there. That's our core customer base. So we are serving customers in the logistics and port terminals today. And last year was a new development for our company. Because last year was sort of the ChatGPT moment for autonomous mobility, with Robotaxi as the first application going at scale on public roads. In the United States and China. So the best example for the US is probably Waymo. Waymo is really crushing it with 250,000 paid rides per week now. In China, Baidu, Apollo, Pony AI, they are just crushing it. This is working. This is the first mass market application for autonomous mobility. And I want to ask you, who in the audience has ever been in a robotaxi? And how was it? Great. Yeah, it's super. It's amazing. It's just a magical experience, I can tell you, the first time you get into a robotaxi. But robotaxi is literally it's the first mass market autonomous vehicle application. There's a lot more coming. In China, autonomous delivery is already scaling. You can think of blends between autonomous mobility and car rental. You can think of automated valet parking also taking off in China today. You go to a parking structure, your car parks itself. You don't have to go in the parking structure. So this is only the first application, but of course it's a very sizable market. For us, robotaxi is a 3 billion market opportunity. The total autonomous mobility on public roads we estimate at a 500 billion opportunity in the next decade. So what we do, so last year we started to focus on entering the robotaxi market with our technology. And we were very successful. We won a first major contract in the US to build autonomous infrastructure for robotaxis with one of the larger players. And we are in multiple contract negotiations as we speak for other contracts. So we entered the market, and the reason our customers in the robotaxi space want to work with us is that today, the economics of scaling a robotaxi fleet is not too great. So, if you talk to, we speak to every robotaxi company or every autonomous vehicle company in the world, probably. For every 10 vehicles put out on the road, you have to add 1 headcount to the depot to service the vehicles, to keep the fleet running, to make sure the vehicles are charged, that they are inspected, and the interior is cleaned. 10 vehicles, 1 headcount to the depot. So that means if you want to tackle Los Angeles or if you want to tackle the San Francisco Bay Area, you need about 10,000 vehicles to make a meaningful dent into the ride-hail ecosystem. That means you have to hire 1,000 headcount to keep that fleet running. 1,000 headcount. But that's not the worst thing. The worst thing is that the jobs there are not nice. People are just standing outside in the fog, in the rain, in the sunshine, and doing very mundane tasks, plugging in vehicles, wiping a screen. So the average tenure of people doing this job is 3 months. So it's not that you have to hire 1,000 people to conquer a city. You have to hire 1,000 people every 3 months. So this makes no sense, right? We are scaling an autonomous service, and now we need to build this massive gig worker crew to keep our fleet running. That's completely beyond the purpose of what we're building here. So what if it could look like this? So this is our solution for the robotaxi hub charging market. Basically a robotic arm on a gantry, picking up connectors, connecting vehicles to the power source, and making sure that vehicles are ready when they need to be. That's the core. Vehicles need to be ready when the fleet service needs them. So our product looks like a robot, but actually the product is the technology stack. Because our 5-year plan is to build a technology stack that can be used to create a fully unmanned service hub for autonomous vehicles. Keeping the fleet charged, inspecting the exterior, and cleaning the interior in the case of robotaxi. So we have built a robotic software stack which is designed from the ground up to do the exact same process at hundreds of facilities with a super high reliability and a super high quality. So it's a bit different than the traditional robotic stack. It's built for scale and doing the same process at hundreds of facilities everywhere. So here you see more or less how it works, the charging use case. And with our technology stack, we want to enable a fully lights-out facility servicing autonomous vehicles, which is the concept of the fuel station of the future. When autonomous mobility goes beyond the robotaxi use case into delivery, into more other fleet domains, gradually the market will transition to more autonomous mobility, and the service station of the future will have these 3 elements, and we will be the tech stack operating those service stations. So basically, scale up, unblocked, no need to hire this big gig worker force. From the first year, you have 30 to 70% lower operation cost at your facility. And very important to our customers, no headache. Because if you are a tech-savvy tech company deploying an autonomous ride-hail service, you don't want to worry about like all this massive gig worker problems, hiring, retention, training, making sure they comply with the quality standards. So that's what we do. Please join us if you want to make autonomous mobility succeed at scale. The benefits for society are tremendous. We need to break the inefficiency of individual car ownership, and autonomous mobility is a major step. If you want to join us, we are currently fundraising. We're looking for investors in the Series A sweet spot. Please contact me. Thank you.